All right, we're back, boys and girls, and so let's do. In this episode, we're going to do pick sides, and then we're going to flip for who starts. So let's just continue where we last left off at here, and so we are. We last left off. We had done some basic game setup, and we got a few more. We got our hash map for our data. So now we're going to come down here, and let's do. Oh, well, you know what? We're going to need a scanner. So let's go up here and let's do a public scanner because we're going to have people that are. Um, we need some input from the user. And so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go in my constructor here and I'm going to initialize it. And so it's just going to be new scanner and then we're going to do system.in. Okay, same thing that we've been doing all along, no difference. Okay, so now that we have a scanner and an input, let's go look at building uh, pick heads or tails, or pick X and O's. And so we're gonna make this void, and I'm gonna call this pick sides. I didn't know what to call it. Maybe pick symbol. I don't know. I didn't know what to call it, so that's what I called it. Call it whatever you want in yours. So what we're gonna do is this: we need to display a message, and so the message is, and maybe it's more like a question. Do you want to be X or O? Okay, and then now we're going to give them, instead of inputting a X or an O, we're going to give them a menu. So we're going to do 1 is going to equal to X, and then 2 will equal O. And make sure we're doing capitals so it looks nicer. And then we're going to just give them the question, basically. Enter 1, we'll just do 1-2. And I'm going to come back here and I'm going to put it on the same line. So I want my input and I want this to be on the same line. Now, for you guys and gals who remember from our lessons that when we get an integer from the scanner, that there's a nasty habit that it leaves this carriage return that we generated when we inputted the number, and so we don't want that. And we need to take care of that. So we're actually going to create another method, and this method is going to be called, and it's going actually it's going to return an integer. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this getInt, and so we're going to have our user actually, well, you'll see here. Let's just build it, and I'll explain what I'm doing. So first of all, you're going to find out that I love do it. We're going to use it a lot here again, and we'll initialize it to false. And then we're also going to need an integer to hold our value, and we're going to set that to 0. All right, so what we're going to do is we also want to do some error trapping here. And so this is another reason why I'm making this into a method, so that we can error trap, we can do everything right here all in one little method, and we don't have to do it every time. Because every time you ask for an input, instead of having to rewrite the same code, we're going to write it once. So we're going to do a do while, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is false, and I'll show you why. Now you'll find out I love do whiles, and the reason I like do whiles is because they're guaranteed to execute your code one time. And so we're also going to need up here, I forgot we need a string, and we're just going to call this number data. And we're going to set that to just a blank screen here, blank up. And so let's pull our data. So we're going to ask for the data. Now we're not putting any questions in here because we'll do that whenever we're actually requesting it. And so user input next line way over here. So we're going to pull the whole line. So we're going to pull the whole thing. So we get the carriage return, we get the numbers, we get everything. And now this is where we're going to do some error trapping here, because we're going to do a good old try and catch. And so here we're going to take we want to take the number and we want to convert, or we want to get the number, and I think it's this one here is the one I want to do, number data. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get an integer out of the input data. If this does not work, we want to catch this, and this is going to be number format exception. And so what we're going to do here is we don't care about the exception really, other than the fact, so what we're going to print out is, and we're going to put numbers only, try again. Something like that. And so what's going to happen is we need to set our do it again. So this right here is why we did this. So here, let's go over the loop, what's going to happen. So the function comes down here. We're going to make sure we set it to false at the beginning of our loop. Then we're going to try to get a number. If it is successful, then it's going to pass the number, and the loop is only going to go one time. It's not going to do it again. But if for some reason you typed in letters, now we're not checking the value of the number here. All we're checking here is that it is a number. So if let's get rid of these extra spaces. I hate extra spaces. And now, so we're just going to return number here. So now that's what this method does. And so we can check the actual value of the method in our calling method. So let's roll that up and let's go back up here. So now that we have this, well, if they can input a bad value, we're going to want to do a loop again, because we want to make sure we get a good value. So we're going to do Boolean, and we're going to do it again. I told you you're going to, I use a lot of these, and we need an integer, and so we're just going to call it number, and we're going to make it equal to 0 here. And then, so let's go down here and let's write our little loop here now. So we're going to do a do while again. And again, we're doing the do while because it allows us to at least go through the loop one time. You know, and hopefully the people actually input the correct, but you could have a typo or something. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get number is going to be equal to get integer. And we know we're going to get an integer back because we've already taken all care of all the data or error handling inside the get int function. So now what we need to do is let's test, and let's say if number is not equal to, let's say 1, and number is not equal to 2, then we didn't get a good value. So we're going to say do it again, equal to true, and let's print a message. We're going to put something like, I don't know, how about dickhead only 1 or 2. And so, well, you know, maybe we shouldn't say dickhead, but, you know, maybe we should said something, you know, we could come up with some other, you know, insult or whatever you want. And then, so you can leave it at that, put whatever you want, your game. And so now we're going to come down here, and now that we know we have 1 or 2, now we can actually assign our players X and O's. Oh, guess what? We don't have a player yet. So let's go back up here. And so we are going to do a public string, and we need a player. And then we also are going to need the computer. And so now we'll come down here, back into our constructor, and let's initialize player, and we're just going to make it equal to a blank string. And we'll do the same thing with computer. And we'll have it equal to a blank string. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to our pick sides. And so now we're going to say if number is equal to 1, now we're going to say player is going to equal to X. Okay, and then we're going to say the computer, well, if this is X, that has to be O. Okay, and then we're going to do an else here because there's only one other possibility. And so what we'll do is we'll just copy. I love copy and paste, guys. You'll see that throughout the thing here. So now we're just going to make this the O and this the X. So that way you get to pick the sides. So we've just set up our game already now. So now we have pick sides. So let's go up here and let's actually create a new method. And this one is going to be called, it's going to void, and we're going to call this run game. And so now we're going to come in here. So let's call pick sides. That does not look like pick side. Pick side. So when we run the game, so let's go up here and get rid of this display board right here, and let's put run game right here. So that after it initializes everything, it's going to call the run game method. And so this is where all of our game action is going to actually happen at. This will be where our loop and everything's going in here. So now we have this. So let's do our flip. Let's do our who goes first. So we're going to need another variable up here. And this one is going to be a Boolean. And I called it whose turn. And then I initialized it in the constructor. Whose turn? And I just set it to false. Now, false is going to equal to the computer. True will equal to the player. So now that we have that, let's go down here and let's write a new method. And we're going to call this one is going to be void pick, and we'll do who turn. Takes no parameters. And so you know what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to open this sucker up that we did the other one, and we're just going to copy the whole, this part right here, the whole top part. And we're just going to slap that sucker in there. And now we're going to say, do you want to be, and instead of X and O's, we're going to do heads or tails. And then we're going to come down here, we'll change this to heads, and we'll change this one to tails. And we already got all this set up. Look at this. So, okay. And we could put a rude comment here. We could just say, you know, only input 1 or 2. We could put can't you read? We'll just make up something. And so now we come down to this part. We already know this will continue to loop until we get 1 or 2, which is what we want. So now what we want to do is we want to randomly pick heads or tails. Uh-oh. Oh, got to go add something else. We don't have that. So let's add up here. We're going to add random. And so then we'll come down here. And I'm going to initialize this right here. So random is going to equal to new random. And away we go. And because we're putting our variables, making properties for this game, we can use them in all our methods without having to pass everything. And so now we're going to come down here. And so we better make us say, we already got number. So we already got number right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say if, and we're going to do random. We're going to get the next integer, and we're going to do 100. Which is going to give us a value between 0 and 99. And we want to say if that number is less than 50. So that'll be heads. And so now, so if it is, then we're going to say player. No, wait. I'm sorry here. We're going to say if this is less than 50, that's heads, which is right now, it's already set that the computer goes first. So if it is, then what we're going to do is we're going to say who goes first is equal to true. That's all we have to do here, because if it's greater than that, it's going to set the computer to go first from our toss. And so we're done. So let's go up here now and let's add this. So what do we call that? Pick who's turn. And so now we have this. And if we run the game, and you might want to do this periodically, just run the game, make sure that you haven't broken anything you've already built. And so as you can see, it comes in here and it asks us. Now if we put something like this, Dick had only 1 or 2. Now if we put letters in here, numbers only, try again. So this is taking care of all of our error handling for us. So we'll pick 1. Okay, and I think we got a slight problem here because it didn't do it. Numbers only, 1. So why is it doing numbers only? It's not allowing me to actually say and try again. So something, we broke something, or I didn't do something right. So this was a good chance to test it. So what I want to do is I want to try something here. I want to restart it. And I want to do actual, if I put 1 in here, it works. So that tells me that I know where the error is at now. And here, we can do 2 here, and the game ends. Okay, so let's go look at our error handling. So we know that it was not inside of the pick or the other. It's actually in our get. Where is get integer? We have something wrong in our get integer. So what is happening here is it is numbers only. I want this to be on the same line. Okay, but that's not what's causing this. What caused the problem here? So it comes back, that's false. Then it reads the data and it does it all over again. All right, so why was that not working? Okay, if I put letters, numbers only, so if I put 1, that fixed it. So now again, if we put letters here, and then we can put 1 here, and the game works. Okay, so we fixed it. So for whatever reason, it works better if you take that line return out, and so now we just printed it all on the same line, so it comes back and loops around, we get it. Okay guys, this is what I wanted to do for this episode. Now we are right close to 20 minutes, which is what I wanted to touch. That's kind of my threshold I'm trying to do each video. So when we come back, we now have the pick sides. Now we need to make the moves. In other words, so we need to make a computer move and a player move. So we'll do that in the next video.